Okay guys, welcome back to the 2over4 Moto YouTube channel. Today is going to be slightly different in the fact that it's going to be a new mini-series that I'm going to be doing with my partner Adele, where we're going to teach her some of the basic mechanical side of working on her own bike, because I'm the one that usually has to do a bit myself. So today we're going to run through just doing a very basic oil service, oil filter change, what she needs to do for like a small regular service interval. So just going to pass it over to Adele, tell you a quick bit about herself and her riding experience, and then we'll jump straight into the first part of the video.
Hi, I'm Adele. I am arguably Harry's better half. This is little Lexi. She's my little baby. So I've had her for about 6 months. I passed my test in April. So I've been riding on and off for about 6 months. Very nervous still finding my feet a bit, but I'm keen to learn a bit more about how I should be looking after her, and who better to teach me.
Okay, maybe a professional. Today we're going to start really simple in we're just going to do a first service on the bike. So we're just going to do an oil change, oil filter change and a spark plug change. Although it sounds quite easy, a lot of the bodywork on this bike does have to come off, like we'll have to drop both the front fairings off, get the fuel tank up so we can get to the spark plug. It should probably take us a good few hours to get through. So yeah, it's quite a good way to sort of drop her into her first mechanical experience on a bike. So behind you, I've already got the new oil and filter that she'll need. So we're just going to stop the rambling, skip straight into the video, and we'll start stripping the bike apart. Okay, so the first step that we need to do when we're carrying out a basic service is making sure that all the parts we need to get to are accessible. So in Adele's case, she needs to get to the oil filter, which is handily located here, and then the sump plug, which is handily located at the bottom of this panel. So it's pretty obvious she's gonna have to pull the front fairing off. It's pretty simple. It's just held on with some 5mm Allen key bolts here and some self-tapping screws along the front. A lot of them are hidden, and as she probably knows, there's a lot of cheap Chinese clips on these bikes that she's gonna have to be careful not to break. So I think the only really way I can teach her is by actually cracking on and doing. So we'll stop wasting time. We'll see how she gets on and get her to start removing the front fairing.
So start here.
No, so these are for the frame cover. So this isn't part. All you really want to get to is the sort of shiny black stuff. So this is the actual front fairing itself. So you can see how it runs up along the bike.
Okay, so these ones?
What I would do is just crack them off with that side and then switch to the ball end side, because then you can just do that.
Oh, cool. Why have I never seen one of these like this before?
What?
With the ball on the end.
You've never seen an Allen key with a ball on the end?
No.
Christ.
Absolutely fascinated.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've all done that. Thought it's out when it's not.
That one's a bit more stiff.
That's what she said!
No wonder there.
Or is there? These two bolts in here, these are quite awkward. I remember these from before. You've got to get a span on the top end and then, what's that on the bottom end? Rotate annoyingly. Then you've got to undo that to get that panel off. Panel by panel, because this is the lower part of the front fairing. So we'll get these two undone. What might be a good option actually is just putting that bolt back in, because if we're going to be wanging on that, it's going to be swelling about and might break the plastic. Doesn't have to be too tight, just...
That'll be right.
Yeah, it'll be fun. These are the awkward, tricky little nuances with working on the bike. We're a lefty-loosey, righty-tighty.
I can't get this one out. Can you do this one, please?
Okay.
Thanks. Look at all the rust that's come off it, look.
Yeah, I know. Last thing I want is to shear all around, which I'm pretty sure it just has. Okay, so as is usually the case of working on these cheaper bikes, we've run into a small issue in the fact that one of the bolts that holds this lower panel on has completely seized. So we're going to take the slightly different approach where we essentially split it at the front here. There's like a little connecting bolt at the front. So if we undo this, this should hopefully split from the front, and we should be able to drop the whole panel down and manoeuvre it out of the side stand. Hey.
Is that supposed to happen?
Okay, as you saw, she managed to just get the belly pan off in one piece. So the next step here is to take the front fairing off. There's a few little screws on the inside along here. She's undone the majority of the Allen keys already. And hopefully we should be able to peel this away from the top around here. There should be some plastic clips holding on sort of along this line. It'll come off without breaking anything. And then we should have everything that we need to be exposed. Hey, that's the sound quality.
Good old Chinesium.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so it's just one more clip left. It's just going to need a bit of a wiggle there. It feels wrong, I know it does. It feels like it's going to snap. Hey! There it is, good. She's off. So now in there you've got two little connectors just for the indicator lights. Very simple, very cheap. So all you've got to do, pull them from one either side. I'll probably try, yeah, like you've done there, support that with your knee. Just pull them apart. Hey. And there it is. Your first side panel removed. Okay, so we're at the next big stage-ish. We've got the front fairing off. We can see everything is exposed that we need to be. All the things we really need to access here are the oil filter housing, which is behind these three hex bolts here. All I have to do is just undo them. There should be like a little rubber seal around that, and then the filter sits within that. And the sump bolt, which is all under here, and in typical Chinese fashion, they've actually moulded the exhaust around the sump bolt. So we're going to crack on and do that bit. Undo these three. We'll have to top up the coolant as well, because as Adele rightly pointed out, the low mark is there. And this is all the way down here. So we're lacking somewhat on the coolant level. So top the coolant up, remove the oil filter, and remove the old oil. Again, as I said in the previous video, we're going to let the bike run for 5 minutes just before we do this. The only reason we're really doing this is because as oil heats up, it lowers its viscosity. So as we're trying to drain as much oil out of the engine as we possibly can, we want it to be at that lower viscosity. So we're going to let the bike run for 5 minutes, not so it's too warm, and then we'll start draining the oil out of it. Okay, so now it's Adele's first attempt at dropping oil out of a bike. You can see that I've already set the wrench up under there for you. So you've got 17mm. So all you've really got to do is just turn that anti-clockwise. Undo the bolt slowly at first. And then when you can feel that it's just about to drop out the bottom of the sump, pull your hand away quickly, because otherwise you're going to cover yourself in oil. It's not too hot because you haven't let it run for too long. But yeah, crack that nut off.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Oh, well, it fell straight out, so that went well.
That's what she said.
Tight?
Yeah. It's moving the padding stand.
Oh, is it pushing the bike?
Yeah.
Alright, I will hold the front brake.
There we go.
Hey, there it is, okay. So like I said, just keep going with it. You'll sort of feel when you can start using your fingers to get it out. As it gets super close to sort of falling out the bottom of the sump, you're going to want to just grab that bolt and try and rip it away from under that engine as quickly as you can. Or what you can do is you can take the extension off of the ratchet and just use the extension instead, just to sort of twiddle that bolt out. Yeah.
That was my shoe, by the way.
I didn't think you just dropped one into the whole of YouTube. Hey, there it is, draining that into the bottom.
I did get some on my hand and therefore on the floor.
Yeah, that's all right. We've got brake clean out. Okay, so we've pulled the sump bolt out of the bottom of the bike. With these cheaper Chinese engines, tolerances they're more of a guideline rather than a must. So as we look at the magnet on the bottom of this bolt, there is quite a lot of metallic sludge. Even though this bike has a full service history and has always been well looked after, you are still going to get this build up of metal. So this is something to always keep an eye on whenever you've got these bikes apart. Just make sure there aren't any large lumps of metal. Luckily, this just looks majority just like a metallic sludge. So yeah, again, just clean this magnet off when you've got it, just so the next time you service a bike, you sort of get an idea as to the health of the engine. So because this is a reusable bolt, these crush washers are stainless steel instead of copper. All we're going to do is just give that a quick brake cleaner off, make sure it's nice and clean before we put it back into the bike. And then we'll do this back up into the bottom of the bike and we will change the oil filter. And then again, once we've removed the oil filter, we'll again just pull this bolt back out just so that if any more oil does drop to the bottom of the engine, we can get out as much as possible. So yeah, we'll chuck this back in, get the oil filter off, and we'll go from there. Okay, once that bolt's nice and clean, just chuck it back into the sump plug where we took it out. But don't tighten it all the way, just sort of get the first few threads on there. Okay, in? Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, so the next step that we have is these 3 bolts here. This is for the oil filter housing. The oil filter just sits behind this, so just gonna go ahead, pull these 3 bolts off. Wrong way, loves. Again.
You're gonna have to take that out.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Right, what are you doing? Think about what you're doing. You're tightening it, bub.
You just told me it was the wrong way, though.
Yes, the ratchet's the wrong way. You're not turning it the wrong way. The ratchet's the wrong way.
Then why didn't you say that?
Because obviously that's what I was referring to.
It wasn't obvious that you were referring to that, clearly.
Yeah, that'll happen.
That hurt, yeah.
Did you get it or not? Did it not? Oh, yeah, there you go. See, you've got it. It was obviously just a tight bolt. So as you can see, we had that little bit of oil drain at the bottom. And you're going to want to be careful because this will try and fall straight into the oil. So just as you undo that last bolt, just pull that cover away, let the oil drain out.
Does that, come off or does it?
Yeah, so the oil filter is actually hiding behind that. There we go. And there's your oil filter. So let that drain off before you pull it, because otherwise it's just going to go everywhere and all over your gloves. There you go, and that's how simple that is. So now we've got the oil drained out the engine, we've got the oil filter out. If we were really concerned by sort of that metal sludge that we found on the sump bolt earlier, we could cut that filter open and take a look inside. But again, the engine's only got 4,000 miles on it. The bike's in nice condition with a full service history, so I'm not that bothered. So in this instance, we're just going to put a new filter in it, make sure we clean up all the sort of mating surfaces around here so we don't get any sort of weeping oil leaks, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're now at a point where Adele was looking to reinstall the oil filter and the oil filter housing. Now before she does so, there are a couple of small things that we need to make sure are correct. So number one is that we have cleaned out the oil filter housing in here, making sure there's no gunk or crap left in it from before, which we've already done. So we know that's done. Number two is we have a mating face on both the oil filter housing and the oil filter on the engine block. So we need to make sure that these are clear and again, free from any debris, which we can see they are. And then again, in here, you have a small rubber seal. We just need to make sure that this rubber seal is okay, making sure there's no nicks or any tears in it, so that when we install it back onto the engine block, it's not going to cause any small weeping oil leaks. So this all looks okay. I probably would replace it if I had a spare one, just because it's just easier doing it while you're here. So the next real step is to actually install the oil filter itself. Now this is quite a smaller, old style filter, as these sort of Chinese engines are typically sort of older models that have been repurposed, reused in newer models of motorcycles. So these cartridge filters do actually go on in a certain way. There is a right and a wrong. So if you look down the barrel of that oil filter, you'll see that side has quite a deep hole in it, and the other side has a solid wall that side. So that side with the hole needs to actually be installed onto this side of the oil filter housing, because if you notice, the oil jet actually comes through that little hole in there. Hopefully you guys can see that on the camera, and then it actually circulates, goes through the oil filter, comes out the filter, and then back out through this little oil galley here. So we need to make sure that one, that oil filter is lined up on there correctly, and number two, that this oil galley that runs along the top here is installed back onto the engine correctly. So it's actually quite difficult to install this wrong, which is quite good. It's kind of bulletproof, but just to make sure you've got that all lined up, and then place it back onto the engine block like so, making sure those dials are nice and seated, which is there. So we're going to chuck the bolts back in it, fill the engine back up with engine oil. Then after that's done, we're going to look to remove the old spark plug, put the new one in, which might take a bit more time because we've got to strip all the fuel tank and surrounding plastics off. But we'll do that for now, and then we'll crack on with the next job. Okay, so we now have the oil filter housing installed back on the side of the engine. Last thing that we need to do is fill the bike back up with oil. So today we have Motorbike 5000 10W40. I just did a simple Google search of what oil was needed for the bike, put that into eBay, and I think the whole engine oil, filter and spark plug kit cost me about 38 quid, so really well priced. All we need to do now is measure about 900 mils out. That's just what it says on Google. So we're going to get Adele to just measure that out, put it into the bike, drop it back on the floor so we can get a more accurate measurement, because as you can see, the engine is sort of tilted at that sort of angle at the moment on the paddock stand. So we'll drop it off the paddock stand, get it back on the floor and give it another measure just to make sure we're all okay. Okay, so it turns out we didn't have a measuring jug nearby. So what we can do instead is, if you look on the side of the oil bottle itself, it kind of has very rough measurements of how much is left. So at the moment we've got a litre, so we probably need to drop it down to just around here, the 100 millimeters mark. So we're just going to fill the bike up until we get to where we need to be. Hey! There it is.
I did it.
That's not bad. Hey, there's oil in the dipstick. Perfect. So that's where it needs to be. Up to that second line. Brilliant. So we're exactly where we need to be. So give the bike a quick 5-second run. We'll take a second measurement just to make sure that the level was fine. Okay guys, so it's now been a couple of days since we first filmed us taking the side of the bikes apart for the oil and filter change. So there's been a couple of differences. One, I've had a haircut. Two, she's dressed differently. And three, she's now got a microphone. I don't know if you noticed in the first sort of half of the video, the audio was a little bit mixed. Main issue with that was I dropped my second microphone into a bucket of oil. So we were stuck with the one microphone for the video. So now she should be loud and crisp.
Hopefully.
And so should I. So we won't have any more audio issues like we did in the first. So with the second part of this video, we are now going to crack on and get the spark plug out. So to get the spark plug out, we're going to have to take the fuel tank off the bike. And I know it doesn't really look like it, but this isn't actually the fuel tank. This is just a plastic covering that covers the fuel tank. So a few more bolts we've got to undo, then we should just be able to lift the fuel tank off the bike, or actually lift the plastics off and then lift the fuel tank off. So you'll sort of see what that looks like in a minute. So there's not much more to say on that, so we'll just crack on with the next part. Okay, so to get the fuel tank off, there's one bolt here, and you've got another one under here. As far as I can remember, that should be enough so that we can just lift this fuel tank off. Obviously we've got one each side, and then we've got a couple of wires and fuel connectors under here that we've got to undo. I'll show you them once we get to that part, but for now Just got to get these few bolts out so we can just lift the fuel tank up. So let's see if we
Let's
can...
do these ones.
No, because they are part of the plastics. I'm just hoping maybe we should be able to lift. No, okay, it still feels absolutely solid. Pretty sure these two have to come off.
What?
These two bolts in here have to come off. While you're doing that, I will get these smaller screws off there.
Oh, wait, thank you.
Don't thank me yet, I haven't done it. Oh, there's a lot of hands in this shot. Ooh.
Well, we lost it then. I got a bit too cocky.
Last one we got, don't drop this in the fuel tank. Okay. So now hopefully that should come out. Good, okay, so we've got the fuel ring out. Now let's see if this has made any difference. Could that have been the missing clip that we were... I reckon
Missing?
it was. I reckon it was, you know. So I reckon it's just these clips
Okay,
in
so
here.
unclip this side.
Just these clips in here.
Stand that side.
There we go. Okay, so this is kind of what I was talking about really, that it's a very, very generic standard size fuel tank. Again, they do this so they can just chuck this on any bike and just put the plastics over. But as you kind of saw, that was a hell of a lot more complicated than we thought it was going to be. It's been a hell of a long time since I've removed one of these fuel tanks, so just had to do it completely gone from memory. But we're here where we are now. The fuel tank is off. Fuel tank cover is off, fuel tank's still on. So next thing we've got to do is, this bit is actually quite simple. You've got two bolts down here at the front, and then you've got two bolts at the back for this bracket, which we're just going to undo, so then the whole thing will lift off. Got a couple of pipes, as you can see there's a return hose running along the top of the fuel tank here, and obviously you've got the feed hose in the bottom and the electrical plug for the fuel pump, which is in the bottom. So those are hopefully the last things that we need to pull off. So we'll go ahead, crack on and get them off. Just remember when you're fiddling about with that, just make sure you don't drop anything into that fuel tank.
I'm hoping I'm not going to.
Well, if I didn't tell you and you did it, you'd go, why did you do that?
Oh,
It's a toy one, that, is it?
it's a toy one.
Schmock on a pancake?
What did you just say?
Schmock on a pancake. You ever seen Austin Powers?
I've seen Austin.
It's from Goldmember. Sally Gold.
Yes, but I haven't watched it since I was about 11.
You were watching Austin Powers at 11?
Yeah. Have you not met my dad? He might as well have been in Austin Powers.
You're the top shagger. So, as we're now going to pull this fuel tank off, under here we've got three different plugs. You've got the fuel pump plug, which is this one here. And this one I'm pretty sure is the fuel sender level. So that one again just unclips at the back like that and you pull it. And then you've got the actual fuel line switch itself, fuel line itself, which has just got these two little tabs that you just push in. Again, just be careful with these tabs because they're plastic and can become brittle. If you break this, it is a new fuel line. So just be careful when you push these in. So if I just hold the fuel tank up like that, being careful not to spill it all down myself, because don't forget this does still have fuel in it and there's no fuel lid on it. And as you flick that up, just pull it back. These usually have rubber seals on. Yeah, there you go. So they can be quite tight. So you've
And
got,
this one.
it's both sides. No, yes. Oh, good
I
spot.
did tell you about that one.
That might be an overflow. I'm not sure what that is. So yeah, I'm just going to chuck this back on just so we can get a seal back around the fuel tank so that I don't just chuck fuel down myself when I take this off. There we go. Perfect. So now I won't spill it all down myself. Got a nice splash full of fuel in the face.
Yes, empty loads out on your hand.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, so because it's a pressurised system, you should always get that sort of little bit of residual fuel. It's nothing to worry about, as long as there's not someone lighting a cigarette near you. And then pull that off now. Lovely. That is one fuel tank removed from the bike. Okay, so now that we have all the panels that we need off the bike, the last thing we need to do is get to the spark plug to finish off our basic service. So if you look at this lead here, this is the HT lead which comes from the ignition coil. This HT lead leads down into the top of the engine, and in the top of the engine, just in there, is a spark plug. So next step is to just remove the ignition coil, which is easy enough, with just this one bolt here. And then we will remove the HT lead, and then we'll get a nice long extension and socket down into there so we can pull the spark plug out of the engine head. Hey! Okay, and there we go. That is one old spark plug, and the spark plug itself doesn't look too bad, but whilst we're here, we'll change it anyway. Okay, so now we have both the new and the old spark plugs for comparison next to each other. We can see that the old spark plug, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit of carbon deposit along the sort of top, and the insulator around here has started to become a bit damaged, but again, it's nothing that bad. But compared to the new spark plug, we can see that it's all shiny new. There's no corrosion anywhere, no build up. So we're going to put this new one in, get it torqued up, because these do have a specific torque measure. So we're going to put this in the engine, get it torqued up, and then we will start putting the bike back together. Okay, you should feel it go sort of clonk right at the bottom. There you go. And just start to, you should feel it sort of start to grab on the threads. Good? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so it has turned into quite a late night. It's now just before 1 in the morning. We've had some slight issues where just the tiredness is just getting to us. Like, we spent ages trying to work out why the fuel pump wasn't priming, only to find out that the kill switch was off. So it's just... It's one of those things that comes with working on bikes, but we've now got the fuel tank back on. We've got all the correct hoses back in the right places. Now all we're really going to do is we're just going to quickly skip through putting the panels back on the bike, because we're supposed to be on a ride in just over 9 hours time. So we've got to put all the panels back together. We're only going to leave this front right fairing off, because as we mentioned earlier, the coolant bottle is quite low. So I'm going to go out in the morning, pick some more coolant up. But that'll take sort of 20 minutes just to go get that, and then put this panel back on. So we're in no rush, but we're just going to put the rest of the bike back together. We're not going to show you too much because you've already seen it once before when we're taking it apart, and we don't want the video to be an hour long. So we're just going to go ahead, put the bike back together. So yeah, we don't have much more else to add, so crack on. Okay, so we don't have much more else to add, so we're just going to crack on and get it back together. Okay, and with that, we are now at the end of the basic service. We have changed the oil, changed the filter, we've changed the spark plug. I know we didn't show it on camera, but yes, we have tested the bike to make sure it's all working. So all we've got to do now is just wait for tomorrow so we can get some coolant, so we can top the coolant bottle back up and chuck the right-hand fairing back on. But we are majority of the way there. Yeah, we ran into some little issues and some little unforeseen things along the way, but overall, how did you find it?
Yeah, tiring.
Mm.
I'm quite tired now, but actually it was okay. I'm not sure I'd feel confident doing it by myself.
I'm not sure I feel confident letting you do it on your own.
That's a bit nasty. Okay.
But no, honestly, you really didn't do that badly, especially with a bike like this where they're not the easiest to work on because they're not the best engineered in the world. They're usually cheaply made, and that does sort of reflect in the build quality of when you're taking them apart. Like we had a couple of clips snap and a couple of bolts not line up properly, but again, it's just sort of part of the nuances of working on these bikes. But overall, I think it was a positive experience.
Minus the identified leak in the radiator that we now need to fix.
Yeah, that is another issue that we found. So the reason that the coolant bottle probably does need topping up is that at some point, relatively recently, there's obviously been some damage to the radiator before us working on it, I think. So there's now a very small leak just at the bottom of the radiator. So at least it gives us good content for episode 2. But it's not exactly what I wanted because, like we said, we've got the ride in 8 hours' time. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on that tomorrow and make sure that it doesn't drop below where we need it. So, yeah, should be a fun ride out. But overall, we're all done.
I shall be back. I shall return to fix the radiator. When I say that, I mean I shall return so Harry can fix the radiator.
Yeah, so hopefully that will probably be a next week's video, maybe the week after. But yeah, that'll be coming up soon. But as always, thanks very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, leave a like on the video, comment with any feedback that you've got. Like I said, at this early stage of the video, it's really, really appreciated. So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Bye.
In my mind, get tired of waiting.